Hello and welcome to Non Sequitur News. Today is July 3rd, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 185. And yes, this is a time machine episode. I'm jumping back a day from July 4th to do the show that I missed yesterday in what seems to be a regular thing nowadays. I don't know. Hopefully tonight I'll be able to do this instead of other mayoral duties, but that's okay. I'll have to do the show notes, well, I guess right now. I am Mayor Watt. This is ohmTown.com that you see here on the big screen, and the Sentient AI from the future is not available at the moment, but that is okay. We can do the show without them today. Tonight, we will be back to basically do everything together. So, today we're going to be talking about smart highway in Michigan, emojis in court, California shuts off power, Japan's regulations on old tech, taking aim at delivery drones. Excuse me, I speak jive. This is the oddest retirement home. Lawyer earns restraining order. Point me to the nearest heliport, and the cost of a Dior bag. That and more next. Yeah, so the show notes are going to be kind of weird, but they are what they are. We'll have all of the show notes displayed here. So you type in show notes to get all of the commands for the show notes. And then, well, unless something hinky's going on, what the heck is going on? It's actually not showing my show notes. Why isn't it showing the show notes? Oh goodness, what's going on? Things have become a hot mess, it seems. Okay, well, I won't worry about it. You'll have to check them out later, or go over to YouTube. That's where the show notes are hard-coded into the description. At any rate, let's get into the first article, which is in Technology Today. Michigan is building the nation's first smart highway. 3-mile stretch of Interstate 94 in Michigan will be converted into America's first smart highway. Axios reports that the Alphabet-backed startup Cavnew has started constructing the smart highway as part of a new pilot project that could spur on other construction projects across the country. 2 more highways are in the works for Austin, Texas, and somewhere else in the Southwest, according to Cavnew's website. I suppose, all things being perfect, that is what will happen. But I'm going to restart my bot. So these little trials sometimes don't quite extend into reality as testing fails. The 3 miles of I-94 will have special sensors and communication equipped to track cars and help drivers with special alerts. It's 3 miles, so not sure what that really is going to accomplish. Danny Gallagher over at Engadget.com put the article together. The new smart road is big, long trafficking system, or trafficking. Let me rephrase that. Tracking system. Not quite trafficking. The new smart road is big, long tracking system for Michigan's Department of Transportation, or the MDOT. And for drivers on the highway. The smart system is designed to inform both MDOT and drivers about the potential issues ahead, such as obstacles in the road, accidents, or traffic jams. It's hoped that this project will help relieve traffic congestion, prevent accidents, and help authorities provide efficient responses to roadway emergencies. Again, I just don't see 3 miles making a difference, but maybe that's just me. The pilot program of the highway is located between Ann Arbor and Detroit, Michigan. There are future plans to extend the smart highway to 40 miles in 6 more phases that would connect to both cities once the pilot program is complete. And like I said, it's a pilot program, so what you expect and the reality are 2 different animals. The smart highway works with a series of poles placed every 200 meters or about 655 feet along the road that hold sensor pods, compute pods, and communication equipment. It's starting to sound creepy. There are also cameras along the highway that monitor every stretch of road and take images that are analyzed by AI and machine learning. There's your creepy. I'm sure everything is okay, right? There's nothing weird about that. Nothing weird at all, folks. Okay, let's see if the commands are working now. 1 second. If you hit ! show notes in the chat over in ohmTown, you'll get all of the show note syntax. So for non sequitur news, you hit NSN, and that will give you all of the links. They're not quite, the titles aren't in the correct order, it seems, but all of the links are also self-evident, so they, to some degree, include the context. I'll fix those if you come and watch later, but I didn't put them into the bot in time. ohmTown is kind of, I don't know, crazy. Anyway, so it's going to have this sensor array, and it's akin to things like in Britain, UK, where there are sensor arrays that monitor the traffic cams essentially, but these are a little bit more broad spectrum. Cavanu says that the technology can connect with any vehicle that has connectivity features. Most modern cars with built-in navigation features fit into this category. A vintage old-timer would not. So I guess the price of pre-85 cars are going to be going through the roof. Maybe. We'll see. America has some catching up to do. Oh, they even mention it right here. Great Britain, for instance, started working on its first internet-connected road in 2014. And then they mention about a correction to clarify that one additional project rather than two is currently underway in Texas. The other one that they mentioned is somewhere in the Southwest. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Law Nerd. Moons, fire, and pigs emojis can be confusing in court. Anastoli Persky over at abajournal.com put this article together. It says these are all questions presented in courtrooms across the country and the world. So what are these questions? Sometimes an eggplant is just an eggplant, but in the emoji world, it usually is not. But in sending someone an eggplant emoji or a winky face, proof of sexual harassment. When does a gun emoji mean someone is threatening another person with death? And does a thumbs up emoji mean acceptance of a contract? That last one is a reality that somebody actually has claimed that the thumbs up in a response to an emoji, the response to a question was acceptance of a contract. The more emojis and emoticons are used in communication, the more they appear in courtroom litigation, says Eric Goldman, Associate Dean of Research and Co-Director of Santa Clara University School of Law's High Tech Law Institute. In 2004, there was at least one court case with the Eastern District of Virginia discussing the use of the smiley face. By 2016, there were 26 cases. By 2023, there were more than 200, says Goldman, who keeps track of judicial opinions relating to emojis and emoticons. What started as a trickle of cases has become a flood. Lawyers need to understand that while emojis are being used, they don't always mean the same thing to everyone. That's right. Cultural and temporal context, or relativism is what it's referred to as, plays a huge role in sociology. So what applies today didn't apply 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, 100 years ago, and trying to reduce today to 200 year ago context is actually kind of befuddling of modern society, rather regressive depending on the context of the enforcement, and not at all really generally accepted, let's just say. So one person looking back at an old court case will sit there and go, come on, this is absurd. Why is there a law on file currently that says you can't bring a cow down Main Street? Nobody has done that in the last 100 years. Well, an attorney or the local culture will sit there and say, well, there's no law, there's no activity that has removed that law. And so nobody just removes the law. The law has to evolve through litigation. In 2023, cases reference a host of emojis and emoticons, including heart eyes, pig, skull, and the devil. What started as a trickle has become a flood. Again, in 2023, U.S. District Judge Trevor McFadden, who sits in the District of Columbia, found that Cohen and his venture capital firm had to face plaintiffs' fraud claims, including their allegation that the smiley moon emoji was a fraudulent misrepresentation, and McFadden described the tweet that the emoji as plausibly misleading. In a separate case decided in June, U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York Judge Dale Ho said two former Bed Bath & Beyond shareholders could not force Cohen to return profits from selling his stake. Ho found that the shareholders' claims were moot due to the company's bankruptcy filing, according to court documents. Well, it says the context is everything when it comes to emojis, which is something that I've been saying. Interpretation of a particular emoji is contingent on whether the sender and receiver believe the wordless communication represents. And that is actually something that is part of ohmTown, semiotic ontology, which is basically the study of how things gain meaning, particularly symbols. So this is an interesting article, and it goes into greater detail. And if you're interested in that kind of thing, go and check it out, because there's always minutia in here that has something that's contextually significant to you as a reader. For example, it says here, a common emoji like fire could mean a positive reaction, or it could be negative, like you just burned me, said Rubin, co-head of securities enforcement practice at Eversheds Sutherland and a partner in the firm's Washington, D.C. office. It's ambiguous without context. So there's no meeting of the minds, which means to me, I wouldn't accept anything as a contractual agreement. It would have to be kind of a gentleman's or a gentleperson's agreement. Gentleman's is kind of the misogynist. But a gentleperson's agreement to whatever it is that was discussed in the preceding transactions. Lawyers should be prepared to utilize an outside expert to clarify the meaning of an emoji if it is at issue, Goldman says. In criminal cases, for example, that might mean bringing in a law enforcement officer who is an expert on gang communications. And even that is something that is specific to the context of the emojis, because there would be code represented in those emojis. Quite fascinating. All right, folks, let's keep on going, though. This is an interesting article, and actually an area of study that I might pursue. I find this one really interesting, but I'm not an attorney, nor am I in law enforcement, but my areas of interest are sociological in nature. So, amongst other things, business, technology, and society are my main areas of interest. So this next article is over in Non Sequitur News. California shuts off power to thousands of people during 100-degree plus. The shutoffs come as excessive heat pushed high temperatures well above 100 degrees Fahrenheit on Wednesday. And there are forest fires right now that are going on. I think one is that Thompson one, and then there's another couple that I was told about, but I don't remember their names. So California Utility shuts off power to thousands of people. Anna Skinner is the author over at Newsweek.com. On Wednesday, nearly the entire state of California was under excessive heat warning or a heat advisory. The red flag warnings in place across many areas as well. These warnings alerted residents that there is a threat of wildfires was due to high weather, such as strong winds and low relative humidity. But that's not the threat of wildfires. The threat of wildfires is that there's a fire that's burning and blowing stuff everywhere that's still on fire, and it can track for miles and then catch something on fire later. So severe weather, such as high winds, can cause trees or debris to damage equipment. If there is dry vegetation, this could lead to wildfire. That's why we may need to turn off power to keep you safe. This temporary outage is called a public safety power shutoff, or PSPS. So whenever you say PSPS, you know that cats are going to show up, so be careful. PG&E will begin restoring power to customers in areas where the extreme weather has passed and when it is safe to do so. So you should go and look at past episodes of Wanted, because in that I put a whole bunch of generators and stuff over the various episodes, and you can actually look at the show notes for the playlist and look to see which one can kind of introduce you to small batteries and generators. So backup batteries, they can be thousands of dollars, but you essentially park them in a corner of your garage, and when you need them, you can actually plug them into your own whatever you need. And in some cases, they can have an interconnect into your home power system and power your house. But that's the only way that you're going to be able to get away from something like this. Have solar power, have an inverter, have battery backup, and have a generator. It's the only way you're going to be able to survive a power outage. And by survive, I mean not have to change your way of life any significant way. This is actually coming from yesterday, so they may have stopped this, but you might as well be prepared if you're in any area. And this isn't really doomsday prepper kind of talk. This is just real talk, practical, pragmatic talk. You don't have to do this everywhere if you don't want to, obviously. But prepared is better. Pardon me. I'm sorry. The next article is over in the Wanted channel. Japan ends 2-year war on floppy disks, kills regulation requiring old tech. About 2 years after the country's digital minister publicly declared a war on floppy disks, Japan reportedly stopped using floppy disks in governmental systems as of June 28th. Per a Reuters report on Wednesday, Japan's government eliminated the use of floppy disks in all of its systems. The report notes that by mid-June, Japan's digital agency, a body set up during COVID-19's pandemic and aimed at updating government technology, had scrapped all 1,034 regulations governing their use, except for one environmental stricture related to vehicle recycling. Interesting. So Sharon Harding over at arstechnica.com put this article together. Says, what about fax machines? That's kind of a snarky comment about the fact that people still use fax machines, but there is actually something very important about fax machines. They largely can't be intercepted unless there is they're actually end-to-end. It's not encrypted, but it's point-to-point communication. Once there is a connection made, it's a modem, and so you can't really tap the modem not easily. So unless you're like a state actor, that's why it's actually accepted for communication between things like lawyers to a fax machine, you to a lawyer's fax machine. HIPAA isn't violated by it unless you receive an unauthorized fax, and then you're basically, if they tell you, then you're supposed to destroy whatever it is they send you. Like I used to get these because somebody thought that I was at one point, I was not me, but the number was an attorney or a client or a patient or a doctor. It's all been really weird, but if you have a fax machine, it seems to be a target for potential violations. Anyway, I just notified the parties and then destroyed the stuff that I had and didn't even read it beyond the introduction that says, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of so-and-so, or this is the document that we were talking about. And then I told them that it's a violation, that they already knew that it was, but that I was aware and they were safe, that the information was destroyed. Anyway, per Reuters, Digital Minister Taro Kono, the politician behind the modernization of these Japanese government tech, has made his distaste for floppy disks and other old office tech like fax machines quite public. They write about it. So why is it in the deck statement? Weird. Anyway, Kono, who's reportedly considering a second presidential run, told Reuters in a public statement today, which is yesterday, "We have won the war on floppy disks on June 28th. And frankly, I think that's a good thing. Nothing that old should still exist. We should have modernization policy in place to move things forward and even have funds set aside regularly to translate stuff out." And that happens in a lot of enterprises, that there's basically crop rotation with technology that moves them out so that you can get stuff that's native, efficient, or not native, but new, efficient by power and the technology. There's usually bigger storage in a smaller space, and a warranty. So if something fails, you can swap out the motherboard or whatever is going on. Sorry, you might see my hand move a little bit. I'm going to try and fix that too. My green screen stops. Anyway, so the timeline may be surprising considering that the last company to make floppy disks, Sony, stopped doing so in 2011. As a storage medium, of course, floppies can't compete with today's options, since most floppies max out at 144 or 1.44 megabytes, 2.88 megabytes were also available. So there are these different shapes and sizes. There were at one point 12 inch, 8 inch, 5 inch, 2.5 inch, 3.25. Just a bunch of different kinds, but they don't even matter anymore. And I'm one of those people that if somebody were to bring old tech before me, I would go, that's interesting, but I don't look back in terms of technology, ever forward, always on to better things. Considering you can take all of the world's knowledge right now and stuff it onto a SSD, I think, and compress it, of course. But so now that the Japanese government considers its reliance on floppy disks over, eyes are on to see what, if any, other modernization overhauls it'll make. And then they talk about the 2023 World Digital Competitiveness Ranking listed Japan as number 32 out of 64 economies. Now I'm going to have to go and look at that to see who the number one is. I don't think it says. Anyway, pretty cool. Okay, let's keep going. The next article is over on the Mobile channel. People are shooting down Walmart delivery drones. Taking aim at delivery drones is the title of the one that I gave it the title. Taking aim at delivery drones. So Walmart recently partnered with a drone delivery startup, Wing, to offer packages shipping same day by air. There is a laundry list of hurdles to overcome in order for this to become a reality, from regulatory approval, technological integration, and simply making it cost effective to operate. Apparently one of those is people shooting it out of the sky. There was a person that just was admitted to shooting a drone out of the sky. Well, shooting at any aircraft is charged as a felony with up to 20 years in prison as the recommended penalty. Bradley Brownell from Jalopnik put the article together, but it's posted over at Quartz or QZ.com. Last week, a Florida man admitted to shooting down a Walmart delivery drone, which he claimed was surveilling him, but he was firing a 9mm pistol as it flew over his home. That round could go off anywhere. This is loony. There is a laundry list of hurdles, so apparently one of them is 9mm rounds. Went inside to get his gun from his safe and fired a single shot at the drone, which was roughly 75 feet in the air. Apparently, he hit the drone in center mass. Wow. From 75 feet away. That is insane. Yeah, don't go to this guy's neighborhood. It apparently quite common for Americans to shoot at drones despite serious legal ramifications. The FAA punishes any shots fired at drones with the same weight as if you'd fired on a Boeing full of passengers. Shooting at any aircraft is charged as a felony with up to 20 years in prison as the recommended penalty. And it should. Nobody should be freaking firing around at anything. Particularly some inanimate object. Or an inanimate object full of animate objects. I mean, it's just a dipshit thing to do. Oh, wait, I need a bleep. I'll work on that. I really should censor myself. So, it says here, with the kind of expansion plus growing drone delivery programs from Amazon, DoorDash, Chick-fil-A, FedEx, and others, there's going to be a little delivery bots buzzing around the U.S. in the next few years. At least 44% of Americans say they live in a gun-owning household. They don't see this experiment ending particularly well, according to the author. Let's keep going, though. The time machine is warming up. This next article is over in the non sequitur news, but it's from Newsweek. Delta Flight 136 landed at JFK Airport on account of spoiled meals. I titled this article, "Excuse Me, I Speak Jive." If you've never seen Airplane, go watch the movie Airplane. So I guess what happened is there was bad food. Spoiled food was served on board. Delta Flight 136 was on its way from Detroit to Amsterdam when it had to make an unscheduled stop at JFK Airport at 4 a.m. on Wednesday. A spokesperson for Delta Airlines said in a statement issued to the media that the plane landed after reports that a portion of the main cabin in-flight meal service has spoiled. There were 24 aided cases upon landing, including 10 members of the flight crew and 14 passengers, all whom declined to receive medical attention. Passengers were provided with hotel rooms and transportation and will be rebooked to continue to their destination. One frustrated passenger wrote on Twitter to Delta, "I need to know how you're going to get me to Amsterdam today. I'm on the plane that's emergency landing at JFK because you serve passengers contaminated food. I don't need hotel food vouchers. I need to arrive in Amsterdam today." The plane left Detroit Metropolitan Wayne County Airport just before 11 p.m. on Tuesday, and the crew decided to land after consulting with medical experts. Yeah, they were on site to meet the aircraft and treat the affected people. Bummer. We won't go into the rest of this. There's stuff about other airline stuff. Honestly, it's really wonky what's going on with airlines. It just seems like it's the news du jour. Oh, by the way, if you want to see the rest of our podcasts, if you hit !pod in the chat over on Twitch, it will display all of the articles or the podcasts that we have. We have 7 total: Non Sequitur News, Reality Hacker, Wanted, WarCrafters, The Continuity Report, Technology Today, and 4-Wheel Tech. Go and check those out. That would be great. Be sure to leave a review, and over on YouTube, like and subscribe, tell a friend, all of that. It would really help us out. So let's go on to the next article. We've got 4 more, including this one. The next article is in the Mobile Channel. Australia police return stolen gorilla to retirement home. And I titled this one, "This is the oddest retirement home." What is going on? What kind of a retirement home has a stolen or a gorilla? Australian police returned a much loved gorilla statue to its natural habitat on Monday after it was stolen from a retirement village last month. They wanted to go on a trip. The article is from RTE.ie, which is an Ireland-based news site. Affectionately called Gary, the 1.5-meter gorilla statue was stolen from a Melbourne suburb last month. Not willing to cop this kind of monkey business, investigators threw their all into locating Gary. I guess there was a lot of pressure, and they returned it. After extensive investigations, officers narrowed down their sights towards a residence of interest and called the Air Wing, the police aviation unit of Victoria Police, to conduct a flyover. Needless to say, our pilots went absolutely bananas when they spotted Gary the gorilla from their aerial vantage point. Interesting. So there you go. This isn't the first time that I've seen something involving aerial surveillance converting into a criminal action. There was a person that I saw recently that was using drones to spot drug dealers and report back the video and notify authorities in real time where the the drug dealers are, and then police would show up and arrest him. It was interesting. I don't know how regular that is. I didn't follow it, but anyway, let's keep going. The next article is over in Law Nerd. Lawyers' conduct must be seriously annoying to warrant restraining order, appeals court says. A lawyer who accused another attorney of yelling and glaring at her, ranting in an unintelligible manner, and serving her with bogus documents. Wow. So Deborah Castens-Weiss over at abajournal.com put this article together, and there was an update apparently. A lawyer who accused another attorney of yelling and glaring at her, ranting in an unintelligible manner, and serving her with bogus documents is not entitled to a permanent restraining order. A California appeals court has ruled, mainly because they are both practicing law, I suppose, and have finite areas where they can actually practice their trade. But I guess we'll see what it says here. In a July 1st unpublished opinion, the California Court of Appeals 4th Appellate District ruled against Don Sens, who sought the order against Patrick D. Martinez based on his alleged behavior on the phone at the courthouse and at her office. So it says a permanent restraining order now. I'm sure that it's going to be limited. According to the Law 360 story. That's the original source, I guess, but abajournal.com wrote about it. So they alleged that the problems began in 2022. On September 2022, the courthouse Sens, I'm not sure how they pronounce their last name, Sens, allegedly glared at... Wait. Martinez had to... glared at Sens and yelled that she always gives bad advice. They actually say the same name twice right here. Anyway, Martinez allegedly screamed in another phone call and courthouse encounter, and as she walked away, Martinez allegedly escalated to screaming as he continued to rant in an unintelligible manner. Void and made-up documents were handed to the office manager. It's weird. So... But then apparently Martinez responded to Law 360 directly. This was a restraining order that was filed to prevent me, an attorney, from being counsel on a case. Ms. Sens did not want to have to litigate a case with me as opposing counsel. The temporary restraining order should have never been granted to begin with. Martinez told ABA Journal that the Court of Appeal rightfully ruled and suggested that Sens tried to intimidate others. Yeah, I'm not sure what the reality of this is, but I don't think the temporary restraining order should probably be limited to them meeting in person, because everything else can be done via email, phone calls, etc. And even the phone calls could be limited. But it's really hard to be opposing counsel to someone you've got a restraining order on. But they say the restraining order is over. The ramifications of the restraining order are not over. I have a lot of legal remedies. So whatever is going to happen. The lawyer for Sens, Joshua Hanks of Gretsch and Packer, said that he and his clients are disappointed by the court's decision. He also responded to Martinez's comments on the case. That anyone would be afraid to try a case against Martinez is laughable because he is a fairly new attorney. Wow, a lot of mean girl lawyer talk. All right, let's go on to the next article. It's over in Hatch Ideas. 6 New York City hotels are providing free helicopter airport transfers into the city with a small catch. Thank goodness. I'm really tired of New York City hotels not providing free helicopter transport. So free transfers are available from John F. Kennedy International Airport and Newark Liberty International Airport for guests staying at select suites this summer. So the article is over at CNBC in a section called Travel. Monica Petrelli is the author. So you can take an airport helicopter with an air mobility company called Blade, available for guests staying at least 2 nights in one of 6 Manhattan hotels: the St. Regis, New York; JW Marriott Essex House; W New York, the New York Edition; the Ritz-Carlton New York Nomad; and the Luxury Collection Hotel Manhattan Midtown. What? Not to the... Never mind. I won't say it. So the catch: to avail this perk, entry-level rooms won't suffice. Rather, guests must be booked in certain types of suites at those hotels. And they kind of talk about what it is. The Marriott representative told CNBC the Liberty Suite at the Ritz-Carlton Nomad typically costs about $3,500 per night. I'm sorry for the cough. Oh God, that peaked. Jeepers. So sorry. Anyway, travelers who are staying in rooms rather than suites in one of the 6 named hotels aren't completely out of luck. However, those guests are eligible for discounts on Blade service this summer. But discounts. Let's see. Ground transportation to and from Blade lounges or helipad locations are an additional $180. And round-trip airfare or transfer on a Blade helicopter between JFK and Newark, Liberty, and Manhattan starts at $400 and $390. I round up, and increases to $500 for maximum flexibility fare. Well, if you're doing this, you've got the money to swing that bat. So let's go on to the last article for our Time Machine episode. It's over in Non Sequitur News. Now we know how much it costs to make a $2,800 Dior bag. Italian police raided a home of LVMH's Dior suppliers that make luxury handbags. Italian prosecutors found Dior paid $57 to produce bags retailing for $2,780. Judges placed Dior and Armani units under judicial administration for 1 year. 2 Italian luxury giants paid just a small amount to produce handbags that retail for thousands of dollars, according to documents in a sweeping investigation of subcontractors. What I don't get about it, though, is if unless the people that are doing this work are forced to do this work, what does it matter? If people are willing to pay it, it's unethical beyond a doubt. Don't get me wrong. I think it's scumbaggery in the physical sense. Nobody should pay $2,800 for a bag, but people pay because they have the scratch, and the people who are doing the work obviously are either being forced to, which judicial oversight be damned, then make it illegal that if you make it a ratio of the amount of money, you cannot pay somebody $57 to produce bags if they're going to be selling for $2,800. I don't understand what this is going to amount to, other than, so they're going to raise the price to $3,000 and pay those people $100. Shubanji Goal, I think is their name. If it's not pronounced properly, send me an email to mayor@ohmTown.com and spell it phonetically, and I'll pronounce it properly from then on. But screw Dior. I could care less. Like, if people are willing to pay Dior $3,000 for a bag, people struggle with it. Like, I struggle with, well, I don't actually. When I see something like this, I go, I would never buy Dior, not because I don't have the money to buy Dior, but I wouldn't pay $2,800 for a bag to save my life. I mean, I would have a hard time somebody giving me $3,000 and saying it's for a Dior bag. I'm sorry, I'm not going to buy a $2,800 bag. I am more likely to get a Dior bag. If somebody wants to give me a Dior bag, I will cut it up and turn it into I make these. Here, I'll even show y'all. I make these little wallets that may be on my store eventually. And other things, like I can make a passport version of it, but it's kind of bespoke. I allow people to choose their colors and whatnot. And it's being made from non-animal products, or at least it doesn't harm the animal, I should say, because one of the things is high quality wool. Anyway, has nothing to do with Dior, but so it says 2 Italian luxury giants pay just a small amount to produce handbags that retail for thousands of dollars, according to documents in a sweeping investigation of subcontractors. Italian prosecutors in Milan investigated LVMH, a subsidiary Dior's use of third-party suppliers in recent months. In fact, who was it? There is another one. Who was it? It might have been LVMH. Who was the bag? I can't remember the name of the bag. Anyway, it was LVMH, I think, for sure. But a person buys basically budget thrown away bags that are like, like unwanted, I guess, because they're so abused or whatever. But they take them and then they cut them up. No, it wasn't Birkin. Louis Vuitton. Yeah, it was Louis Vuitton. It was a Louis Vuitton bag. So, and what they do is they cut out chunks of the material and then they hand stitch it all together, kind of like what I do, but I don't use somebody else's product. And then use my own design. I use my own design, my own product, everything. So what's funny about this is Louis Vuitton sent somebody, doggone it. You know, now I'm starting to question if it was Louis Vuitton. Anyway, so they actually sent their own private police to this guy's, he's a maker over on YouTube, to his house, basically to tell him to shut it down, stop using the bags, and that it's fraudulent. But that's bullshit. I can make whatever I want. If I want to go and buy somebody else's product and chop it all up and use that material for my own product and sell it, nothing can stop me. I can what I can't say though is that it is their product, right? I just can't say that it's a Dior bag. I can say it was made from a Dior bag, but it's hand stitched by me. And nobody can stop me. They can pull me into a lawsuit, but I'll get compensated for the prosecution, because it's basically, it's a slap suit, the equivalent of a slap suit, to try and stop me from selling the product, selling something that I'm making, even though all I'm doing is taking something that nobody else wanted. I'm almost determined. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I probably won't be able to, but let's see if I can find it. Let's see. Hold on a second. Yeah, I'm sorry. I won't be able to find it fast enough. But yeah, without a doubt, you can do whatever you want with a product that you purchase, short of, like, if you have to go to them and say, hey, I need this replacement part, and they have a policy that they only sell it to certified or authorized repair sites, then obviously that's their policy. And you can end up kind of like Apple, right? Apple says, no, you can't buy this without being a certified repair location. And to me, I'm like, okay, those are the rules. But if I get secondary parts and I fix them, then fine. But it voids the warranty from that point on. Why? Because I don't know what kind of shenanigans, what quality. And it would take a major, very expensive forensic investigation to find out why that Apple phone burned down somebody's house or blew up in their hand. Because there isn't anybody on the planet that's going to, well, there are. Like, if I were to go to an aftermarket place to get something repaired and it blew up in my hand later on, I wouldn't be going after Apple. I'd be going after the repair site. In fact, I had a food related matter where I was harmed by a product that that was sold to me. And so I went back to them and I said, hey, you have to pay for this. And they're like, if you want, they argued with me. They said, go to this person. And I'm like, no. You sold the product. Liability lands on you. You can go after the person that provided it to you. And they're like, well, no, that's not how it works. And I said, absolutely. And if you want to end up in court, then keep on arguing with me. They ended up paying me to cover my expenses, but that's all I wanted because I wasn't horribly disfigured, right? But they said at the end of that, and if you want anything more, you can go to the person that provided it. And again, I reminded them, no, that's not how the law works. You sold a product. You created the situation wherein I was harmed. That means I sue you. I could drag them along and sue the provider of the product that you sold. On top of it, I could go after them, but then you can go after them too because you were harmed. But I was the one that was harmed by both of you. And that kind of just straightened them out. They just knew that they weren't going to win any argument with me, but they did it after I said, look, we're good, you know. But they wanted to sit there and inflate their throat sack. But yeah, whatever. At the end of the day, this article is basically trying to call out the subcontractors were Chinese-owned firms, prosecutors said. They said most of the workers were from China, with 2 living in the country illegally and another 7 working without required documentation. So that is what I would be pissed off about. That is what I would be pissed off about. If somebody wants to spend $3,000 on a bag and the workers are only paid $57, the supply chain there is the problem. Why is it okay? Exchange rate be damned, cost of living expenses, that kind of thing be damned. These people are accepting $57. Now, you could say they are financially oppressed people from China, but there is a subcontractor there that is obviously making more money, probably, because the people who are managing these subcontract workers are, I hate to say enslaving these people, because I don't know if they're, I need to find another term that fits this more appropriately. You know, this isn't slavery, not by any stretch of the imagination, unless the context, it really is, you know, true enslavement, that they're not working, that they have no freedom, they're not working free of free will, they aren't being fed, they aren't being housed, they aren't being provided a livable wage, et cetera, right? I mean, we know what enslavement is. These people are basically bound to whatever portion of $57 per bag. So if this company, this is the message that everybody needs to be shown, that Dior and this luxury bag maker and others, probably these 2, are willing to use an oppressed, financially oppressed population, and they're making bank on it. You know, this is like a $300 bag, maybe, because of markup over $57. So all that money is making $1 billion company. Screw them. Why are you even bothering buying their stuff? You should have an ethical embargo on them. Just walk away. Not allow them to be billionaires while there are people that are literally financially oppressed. They should be making a shit ton more because it's their quality. It isn't Dior's quality. It is the subcontractors' quality. So how about that? You know, y'all are buying a Chinese bag. How about that? You know, it's not this exotic Italian bag. It's, now I'm picking a big fight. Anyway, we're not going to have Dior as a sponsor. Now I'm heartbroken. Anyway, you know, it says that we're not dropping any frames, but sometimes when I look, I'm kind of jittery. I don't know. I don't get it. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. thank you very much for coming and hanging out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into my non-Dior bag and button myself up. And when that happens, we snap back to the front page of ohmTown, and we see that it's in the time machine, July 3rd, 2024. And as soon as I'm done with this show, we're going to reset, and be sure to follow us here on Twitch and over on YouTube, and be notified when we do our show today. We'll probably do the show early, not 8 p.m. because people are going to be out enjoying their fireworks here in the States. And if you're not, I hope to see you here. Cool. All right. Anyway, see you in a little bit. Oh no, it's the Dior police asking me not to bat